Welcome back to the House Relate podcast. I'm very excited for you to listen to this conversation with Blaise Harris. We do discuss trauma, PTSD, and suicide and suicidal thoughts in this episode, and I want you to know that before we begin. So, thank you for listening. All right, welcome back to the House Relate podcast. I'm with Blaise Harris. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am living the dream as best I can right now in this climate.
Yeah.
We're going to do our best to make it do what it do, regardless.
Absolutely. I love your t-shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Emotionally available, aware, intelligent, and invested. Hopefully that makes a difference in some way, shape, form, or fashion in this dating world, but that's neither here nor there.
I was about to say, you should wear that and then have a QR code of scan it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an idea. Thank you.
There's some merch.
Yeah,
Blaise
that's
Harris
it.
merch.
That's it.
So you are the dope black dude therapist.
The dope black therapist.
The dope black therapist.
Yes, that's it. That's okay.
Dope
That's
black
right.
therapist.
Yep.
And these are on socials, on Instagram.
Yes, it's if you look for me on Instagram, it's _dope black therapist, and then you'll see a silhouette of my beautiful face.
All this.
Yeah.
So one, how did you get into being a therapist? And then how did you also get into the Instagram side of being a therapist? Because I feel like that's also a unique twist to it.
Okay. Well, how I got into therapy is my divorce messed me up. I'm not going to front. My divorce was difficult for me to go through, and I was the typical dude. Oh, I don't get depressed. I don't have to deal with any of this stuff until it happened. And I was in a point where I couldn't, I was not eating. I was not sleeping. I lost so much weight without trying. I was depressed. My mood was depressed all the time. And there were times where I did not want to get up. So during this time, I was still a firefighter, and no one knew what was going on with me. Nobody knew. They just thought, because I worked out all the time and I was studying for a lieutenant's test, I could use that as an excuse to get away from everybody and go to my cube and cry and nobody not know and bother me because they think I'm studying. Or I would, work out constantly as a way for me to fill this void and everything. Right. So when there was a time where even, during that divorce, I had suicidal ideations. I had 2 attempts, and the reality is I actually admitted myself to a psychiatric facility because I didn't know where to go for therapy. I didn't know who I could talk to. I couldn't tell you where to look to find a therapist back in 2015. I had no idea, but I knew about Hollywood. That's the only thing that was my connection to mental health. And so I admitted myself. I went in there. I was there for 5 days, and I learned that I had major depressive disorder. I learned that group therapy is a thing, and I learned that individual therapy was a thing. And so if I'm the happy-go-lucky firefighter, right, and smiling all the time and always doing this, I was like, well, how many other firefighters, police, EMS, dispatchers, veterans go through the same type of stuff? And so initially, I went to grad school to be a therapist for first responders. I get to grad school and I went to Central, go Eagles. I went to Central and I was like, oh, Black people don't go to therapy either. So I was like, okay, I'm a Black person and I'm a first responder. So I'm going to be a therapist for Black men and first responders. I want my niche is treating and processing trauma in Black men and first responders. And I wanted to go after those two groups because those groups are groups of people who minimize their own feelings, their own thoughts, their own needs, their own mental health, and have to continue to move forward and push forward regardless of what they're feeling. I relate to that,
Mhm.
and so that's how I got into mental health.
Wow. I appreciate you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Because I did want to ask what the similarities are with Black men and first responders.
Hmm.
And when clients are coming to you and they're like, Blaise,
Hmm.
this is what I'm going through,
Hmm.
what are they typically telling you that they're going through?
So when it comes to my first responders, a lot of my first responders, they deal, it's like certain calls that they go on. And it's like, yo, I had this bad call. I went on this bad call and I don't know how to, I'm having difficulty sleeping. I'm having difficulty processing. I'm having difficulty dealing. Now, at the same time, a lot of my first responders that come in and they're talking about their own, they might talk about marital issues. They might talk about what retirement looks like. I'm getting ready for retirement and I don't know what to do after I retire from this job. There are others who are having issues with communication. And then just like some people are going through divorce themselves. It's like, how do I navigate this, while also working the job? Because a lot of them worry about, oh, you're going to tell, the bosses that I'm crazy. And I'm putting crazy in quotation marks. I'm just like, no, man, it's ain't nobody gonna know you see me unless you tell them. There's this thing called HIPAA where I gotta keep all this stuff on the wraps anyway. They can ask me till they blue in the face, but I can't provide it to them because ain't none of their business. So those are the biggest things. When it comes to black men, it's so many different things.
Mm.
Brittany, it's so many different things that they come up with. So some of them are dealing with divorce or breakups and relationships. Some are trying to figure out the best way to relate to their kid, or how do I deal with this anger that I feel? The state of the country right now. How do I deal with racism and microaggressions that I see every day on the daily? And I have to keep my cool, even though I'm faced with this stuff every day. There are times where I'm helping these brothers just deal with life. And it's just like I'll give you an example in my men's group last night. I usually start my men's group with weather check to see how you are, just to see how you are every day. And everybody in the group was like, I'm partly cloudy. Some had fog, some had thunderstorms. And what's really wild is all of them were dealing with the same thing. I'm going through this divorce. You know, the mom is trying to keep kids away from me. I didn't want this divorce. They wanted this. How do I adjust to this new life? How do I show up for my kids? How do I be the dad that I needed when I was growing up, when I'm having difficulty relating to what's going here, or I don't have access to my kid like I used to because we're going through this custody battle. And it's very real. It's real life shit that these guys are dealing with. But at the same time, it's just like, man, I don't know who to talk to. Who can I talk to about this? Who's going to actually hear what I'm going through? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of brothers just want to be heard.
Mm.
And a lot of times they're not, you know. Um, there's this fear that if I do open up and I'm vulnerable, you're going to use it against me. So let me keep it to myself. So that way I'm not going to get hurt and you can't hurt me by using what I gave you, in order to help me feel better. So it's different. I wish I could say it was just one thing, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's just like we're definitely not a monolith when it comes to these things. But the reality is we struggle just like everybody else struggles. And I think our struggles are that much. I think our struggles are increasingly harder because we have to do it with a smile on our face. You know?
We have to mask it.
Yeah.
The way I'm kind of conceptualizing this too is that my feelings could be used as ammo against me, and the
Hmm.
vulnerability is already risky. And
Mm.
there's layers of risk in all these ways.
Mhm.
I can't talk to anybody about it. If I do, what might happen? And I'm imagining that's with either people who are in
Yep.
emergency response work. How are
Mhm.
people going to see me if they see me struggling?
Mhm.
Or if I'm a Black man dealing with a custody battle and trying to be a father and trying to get through work and trying to
Mhm.
be all these things, and I
Mhm.
got to act like I got it together.
Yep. All the time. And it's
Mhm.
like that's a struggle because like hell, I don't have it all together and I'm a damn therapist. You know? And it was just like I deal a lot of the stuff that the folks who come to see me is wild when, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Let's say all your clients in the day that you got scheduled, they coming through with their shit. And it's like, damn, why are you dealing with the same shit I'm dealing with? And it's just like, how are we gonna damn navigate this? And it's just like, I'm sitting there, it's just like, well, have you considered da 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 da? I'm like, I look at myself, I'm like, bitch, did you consider it?
Yeah.
I was like, golly.
Yeah.
So
Insert the advice that I haven't taken myself that I probably should
right,
take. Yeah.
right, right. And that's man, that shit is it gets I'll be my flabber is gasted every time that happens to me. And I'm like, damn it, Blaise. If you just listen to yourself, you could damn resolve a lot of the shit that you are having problems with, but it also but it's a lot of times it's a mirror, you know what I'm saying? And okay, I see myself in a lot of the clients that I deal with because of the things that they do, especially with my first responders, because I remember what it's like to be alone. I remember what it's like to, yo, I'm screaming for help on the inside, yet y'all can't hear me because our our go-to when it comes to anything that's hard is dark humor, ignoring it or pushing it through. Like the culture of the fire service is to rescue others, not necessarily to rescue ourselves. We can rescue ourselves if we have to bail out of a window. We know how to do that. We got the tools to do that, right? I can use my rope. I can hook my rope up. I can hook my line up to my halogen bar, put it in the side of the window, and I can rappel down the side if I need to. If I can bail out, and I can hang there until somebody can give me what they lack. But that's only in an emergency, right? What happens when we have an emergency that you can't see,
Right.
you know?
In some ways, I feel less exposed if it's an emergency you can see, even
Yep.
though that is like an imminent, life threatening situation I might be in. But
Mhm.
if we're trained to know what to do, then it feels like we have an answer and someone else has got me because someone else is able to see it.
Yep. Yep.
And that in itself creates, like you're saying, like that rescuer part is never gonna say like I need help because
Nope.
that is if it's like I'm thinking of the trauma triangle where it's like the rescuer, the persecutor, and the
Mhm.
victim. It's like I'm never gonna look like a victim or helpless in a scenario because that would
Mhm.
take away from an identity that I really hold on to.
Mhm. Mhm. But the thing about it though is like every first responder is like there's a list of policies and procedures and protocols that we all followed. Like I don't know what let's say if I'm dispatched to a fire. I don't know how big the fire is going to be, how small the fire is going to be, if there are people inside or if they're not. However, there's a protocol that I follow, regardless of what type of fire it is or how big it is or whatever. I want to always be sure I put my PPE on so I'm protected, so I can get in and I can get out and I'll go raise somebody. If somebody's in there screaming for help, we're going in regardless.
Mhm.
You know, if it's something that's too big and we're going defensive, we're going to go defensive. We're going to try to protect the property. You know what I'm saying? So there are a list of things that we always have to do, regardless of the type of call that we come. If there is a chest pain call, you know, all right, so somebody's talking about chest pain, I know that I'm going to administer maybe aspirin, unless they have already taken some, or if they're on blood thinners, or if they have, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If there's a diabetic emergency, okay, I'm going to check the blood sugar. I'm going to um, see if they are responsive. Okay, somebody had a stroke. Okay, I'm going to check for facial droop. I want to check and see if they can speak clearly. I'm going to do all of these different types of things. There are protocols for every call that comes through through dispatch. there's something that we always have to do. Why don't we do that same shit when it comes to our mental health?
Have you seen any changes in this since 2015, mm,
Hmm.
in how
Yeah.
mental health is handled, particularly with people who are working on the front lines?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There are peer support groups all across the state, and there are people who are recognizing the issues and stuff that we have. Like there's the North Carolina First Responder Peer Support Group, which I'm a part of, and that's all across the state. There's a group called Big and Small Peer Support, which is based out of Franklin County, when they serve all the rural counties who might not have access to a lot of the mental health facilities and they don't have access to a lot of the stuff that we might see in the big cities. There's the Pierce Foundation, where a former medic is he's bringing knowledge to trying to bring knowledge to the whole country about mental health and how we can address it when it comes to our first responders. Because the reality is, a lot of us are dying, and we're not taking care of ourselves the way that we need to. So the stigma is still there, but it's definitely changing.
Love to hear that there's changes, and of
Hmm.
course, wanna also, like, smash more stigmas, but
Yeah, yeah.
I also like that you mentioned, like, the rural communities because,
Hmm.
as we kinda know just from as I, like, being in the field, we're very much aware of what areas don't have resources, and especially
Hmm.
being in a state like North Carolina where you go 20 minutes outside of Raleigh and there is the country.
That's yeah. That's
Yeah,
I'm
right.
from those small areas outside of Raleigh. So, and I get it. If but you know they need just as much help as everybody else does, because you think about it, it's going to take that much longer for if you say, if you're especially if you're a volunteer, like a volunteer fire department, you got to wait for the people to get off of work, if they are at work, or leave work and come from home to go to the fire station, then get the truck, and then go to the place.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's so many different things that go into that. Police is a little bit better. EMS is a little bit better because there's still stations based all around it. But a lot of the first responders are a lot of the firefighters there are volunteer, and like in the rural areas, in the rural communities, right? So you also got to think about it. Let's say if somebody's returned coming from home and they go to a car accident and they're the first on the scene, and what if that person is 18 years old and never seen something like that before, and they're the first person on the scene, or even worse, it's somebody that they know, you know. And so thinking about all of those things, and like, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we be sure that our folks are equipped with everything that they need to be able to do the job successfully? Because the reality is, like, when we sign up for this job, we know that we're going to see some bad shit. There previously, I think that that's changing now, that there's, like, even in academies, I think academies are addressing mental health. They're addressing mental health in academies now, whereas before it wasn't. Um,
Which is great.
so why would we want them to be equipped with all the tools that they need to be successful and stay in this career, for the full 25, 30 years, whatever it is that they need, uh, but also retire mentally well as physically well.
Yeah. There's Before we hit record, I was kinda looking into some stats around, like, some of the mental
Hmm.
health things, and, um, it was like, of course, this is SAMHSA, this is,
Yeah.
National Public Health Institute, so, just so
Hmm.
everyone knows that this is not just
Yeah. It's the
people,
real,
but
it's the real
it's the
deal.
real deal,
It's
right?
the real
It's
deal.
Gemini, but Gemini pulled from good resources. All right.
Yeah.
So basically the first responders have like 30% of first responders have PTSD, which like you're saying, they're on these instances day in and day out. And I think that what it's almost like but I signed up for this just because I knew I was getting myself into this.
Mm.
Doesn't I think that there's this idea that that in itself should shield me from then any of the effects from it. Like, if I know I'm signing up for, then why am I having trouble with this? But then you're in it, you're on the front lines of it, and it's like they're still taking these events into your nervous
Mhm.
system. You're still like, yeah, like even if you're on the scene, I'm imagining it's going when you're there, it's super quick.
Yep.
Afterwards, it's like, holy shit, what just happened?
Yeah. Yep. 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 And that's so going back to the stats. I want to point out those are the ones that were reported.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's likely way more than that. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
whether it be PTSD, whether it be depression, whether it be anxiety, whether it be substance use disorder, whether it be bipolar disorder or whatever, they're not gonna be like, hey, yeah, I have this. This is like that's one of those things where it's just like, well, if I say this, then again, that's identity. How's that gonna look at me? How's that gonna look on me?
Right.
But going back to what you said though, it's just like, okay, I should be okay for this, but at the same time, it's just like, knowing that it's going to come and then being in it is two different things. Before I joined the fire department, the only time I saw a dead body was at a funeral. You
Where
know,
you Yes, where you're not interacting in the event and in the scene, that this is
yep,
a like, I think of funerals as processing events. This
yep,
is like, we are all here together to process what's happening,
yep,
whereas
yep,
it is not a traumatic event
right,
in and of itself.
right. And now I go from that to being the first person to confirm that the person is dead, um, or performing CPR to work on someone. You know, you know, I. So this is something that still sticks with me to this day. There was one day that I had 3 codes in one shift. So a code is, I have to do CPR on someone. So 2 other people who I did CPR on were talking to me before they coded. And that's something that still sticks to me. And this is probably 12 years ago. And I still remember that. Um, I remember the call when I first got back to shift. One of the calls that I went on was completed suicide. He died by suicide. This is after I returned from my own attempts, right?
Mhm.
I had to go confirm that the person was dead, that he was indeed gone. I still remember the color of the bungee cord. I still remember the he like he had I remember what he was wearing. I remember the type of glasses that he had. I remember the mother having a tough time. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like me trying to explain to her because I was in grad school at the time where these other folks had no clue. Well, why are you trying to comfort her? Why are you sitting right there and doing all of this and doing all this? Is like, because this mom just lost her son.
Mhm.
And y'all are going to like, where's the end? You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And
Where's
it's
the human side?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's just like, you know, what's even wilder, a couple of cycles later, there was a guy who crashed his car into a building. Fortunately, the building was empty. He tried to die by suicide by crashing his car after a breakup, while everybody else is trying to, let's be sure that the structure is safe, which is very important because they don't know anybody was here, but the house was vacant. I'm dealing with the guy who actually crashed the car. And he told me, is that I know what I was doing. I wanted this to be over. And this is what I was at. Me talking to him and calming him down, he actually went with the police peacefully because of the way that I was talking to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like I
Mhm.
had a captain tell me, he's like, man, we're not therapists. Like, bitch, we whatever the public need us to be.
Yeah.
You know?
You wear so many roles when you're
Yes.
first on the scene,
Mhm.
because at that point I mean, as you know from doing trauma work, like one of the questions that therapists will or clinicians will typically ask is, who was there with you? Was there anyone there to support you
Mhm.
before, after, during the event?
Mhm.
And to think that someone can be there and like be a support person. Like, I want
Mhm.
to know what's going on for you and how you are right here, right now,
Mhm.
can be immensely helpful for
Mhm.
their recovery, even.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then one of the things that a lot of people they don't take into consideration is how dispatchers deal with the things that dispatchers deal with. You gotta think about it. When someone is dialing 911, that person, the dispatcher is going to be talking to that person until police, fire, AMS gets there. So that person might be listening to somebody taking their last breath. Somebody that person might be listening to someone um being stabbed or shot or doing whatever. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine sitting there listening to that and not being able to do anything?
mm,
You know what I mean? And that's a horrible thought, you know? And it's like it's one of those things, is it's like, okay, so yes, we know that this is going to happen, but again, what are we doing to be sure that they are prepared to manage the psychological effects that might be coming along with dealing with this job, you
right.
know? So yeah, so it's hard out here for those folks.
Yeah.
It's hard out here for those folks. Yeah.
Can I ask, do you feel like that there are differences for people who are EMS versus police? Like, and what, because even I'm wondering if there's even stigmas around this. Like, if
Hmm.
there's stigma around someone who's a police officer versus someone who's an EMS versus someone who's in military versus someone who
Hmm.
is a dispatcher. Like, I'm wondering like how even that might show up just in the job itself, or like, yeah, how people see them in their job.
Right. Well, the thing about it is, there's a lot of hate on police officers.
Yeah.
Um, you know, with everything that's been happening in the news over the past few years and how they respond to certain things, how they deal with certain things. Now, I also know that there are some police officers out there who really want to do some excellent work in this field. They have to deal. The messed up part about it is they get a bad rap based off of the people who did those actions. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to catch it on so many different levels.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the reality is like I've worked with several police officers who see that and are disgusted by it. And I've seen police officers in the community talking to people and showing up in the way that they need to show up and getting to know the folks in the community. You know what I'm saying? I've seen those things. Now they have to deal with so much stuff because, they have to stop a threat. You know,
Yeah.
they're gonna be people who do everything that they can to de-escalate the situation in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But then there are some people who want to die, who have it in their heads to die by suicide. They can't do it themselves. They want to do suicide by cop. So they won't do it themselves. So they'll do what they can to provoke the police officers to do it for them. Um, People don't think about stuff like that,
Right.
you know. Um, Whereas with fire, there are people who like, oh, the fire truck. I see the fire truck coming. I know the fire truck's coming. They're coming to help. Same thing with paramedics and EMS. Is like, oh, they're coming to help us. A lot of people don't have that same view when it comes to the police. They're not coming to help us, even though it says protect and serve. They're coming to hurt. You know,
Right.
and that can be tough. That can be
Yeah.
tough. It's like, how do I help people who don't trust me to help them?
Yeah.
You know, and that's
Right.
that's that's hard.
Mhm. Yeah. That I'm the part of my job is to help and serve, and I'm coming in and people don't trust that I'm there to do just that. If
Hmm.
I'm someone who is in alignment with those values, to say that like
Hmm.
this is what I really truly want to be doing for my community.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the thing, man. It's hard out here. I've had I've had times where I've had to deal with people not wanting me to help them because I'm a black dude as a first responder.
Man.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Um, but then the it's even though those cases are few and far between, like I've had a captain call me the N word before. Yeah, at work.
How did you deal with that? How do you deal with all of this? What was your smile?
I had to smile because like who's going to believe who are they going to believe? Are they going to believe somebody who's only been on the job for 3 years, or the captain who's been there for 25? And if I do say that, and I'm the only brother at the station, am I the troublemaker?
Am I going to be seen as the rebel in the station? And I know, and that's not going to be good either. Yeah. Yeah. When you're, especially particularly when you're in a job where we rely on each other to keep each other safe.
Uh,
Yeah. That sense of
that
belonging is way more pronounced
so
because it is going to
yeah,
save your life. Right.
right. But that's the thing though. So it's just like I think a lot of times people forget, like, first responders, when stuff goes down and somebody gets hurt, yes, we will support each other and love each other and brotherhood, brotherhood, brotherhood. But first responders are also some of the most kick you when you're down type people in the world too. So,
Yeah.
so, and it's not all the time, but it can be like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, like I said, I've worked with folks from all over the city, whether it be police, EMS, fire, or whatever.
Mhm.
And I know that there are some people in there who really want to make a difference and really want to evoke some positive change. But then I know it's assholes in every job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there's some people like who shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Well, I'm pretty sure both of us know some shitty therapists at some point, or come
Right.
across them at some point. You know what I'm
Unfortunately.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
that's in every job.
Right. Yeah. And that those are the ones that do get attention
Mhm.
sometimes. Um, how do you work with people and maybe even yourself of like how to talk about, because hi honey, how's your day is not,
Yeah.
it's not the same if you're working with like an accountant and it's like, oh, here's what
Absolutely.
happened today. Like
Absolutely.
like like there it's just so vastly different. So
Yeah.
wondering how to have these conversations after all the heaviness that the job brings.
Right. So a lot of times is like we were taught that when you come through this door, every problem that you have at home is supposed to disappear, and every issue that you see at work, as soon as you cross this threshold, is supposed to disappear. That's not realistic, right? So we just
Right.
keep our stuff to ourselves. And that's why so many first responders work second jobs that are just as strenuous and are just as busy and all this type of stuff. So they could, so they don't have to deal with that stuff, right? It's also supplemental income and it does really well. And it's just like it just keeps us in that ready mode, right?
Mhm.
So what I tell my folks is like, yo, you married that person or you're with this person was better or worse, sickness and health, and all these different types of things, right? You shutting down is not comforting to them. You don't have to tell them the gory details of the stuff that you saw. What you can do is say, hey, I had a really shitty day at work today and I might need some space, or I just might need a hug, or I just might, can we chill out, for a little bit today and just me and you kick it? Or can I just play with the kids and all this type of stuff? Or can I have an hour to myself before I have to husband, parent, or, caregiver or whatever, especially after a long shift, you know? I think a lot of us, we don't give our spouses or our partners the opportunity to show that they can support us because we've been told that they won't, or that they can't.
Yeah.
So I tell them, it's just like, you knew this person way before you were in this position. If they stood through you through some of the hardest shit back then, what makes you think they can't handle the shit now?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like,
Yeah.
again, they might not understand what a Halligan bar is and how to use your Halligan bar to get inside of somebody's house to save somebody. They don't know what that looks like. So, but they do know that's like, hey, I lost two people who were talking to me, and that sucks. you know, or I saw a kid, you know, who had burns on the whole left side of his body. You know, I can't explain that to you and why that hurt me so bad, but I can say I just saw a kid get hurt. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it doesn't, it's like I was reminded of my own kids because of what I saw,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's just like, sometimes you have to tell your partner the best way to help. And that's the thing. It's like you're the rescuer. You don't need them to fix it. Sometimes you just need their presence. Sometimes you just need a kiss. Sometimes you just need a, I'm proud of you. But they won't know that that's what you need if you don't open that up and tell them that that's what you need from them.
I'm imagining too that it's difficult to get in touch with what you need. If
Hmm.
if I'm the person who's I put my needs aside day in,
Yep.
day out to be there for
Hmm.
everybody else, I
Hmm.
I might not even be totally in touch with that.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
I want to be the person, because I also maybe want to come home and be the person who says, I got it all for you too. Like I still want to
Uh-huh.
be in that role and you see me in that light. And if you see me as vulnerable, am I falling off this horse, this, white knight horse that you might see me as? Like I don't want to be that person who falls in
Right.
front of you. Yeah.
Right. Right. And that's a real thing too. Um, excuse me. I think it's just one of those things. It's just, um, when that type of stuff happens, I always break it down to, it's like, all right, did you know how to, you know, get the right pressure on the pump when you first started doing the firefighting? And it's like, no. I said, what did you have to do to learn how to do it? Well, I had to train. Okay. Did you know how to do, how to do evasive maneuvers when you first got onto the police force, and, how to get around certain people in certain places and stuff, and drive at a high rate of speeds and do it in a safe way? It's like, no. I said, how did you learn how to do it? I had to train. I had to take time. Zach, how do you think you're going to be able to speak with your partner?
Hmm.
Do you have to train yourself and give yourself the opportunity to talk to them in the way that they need to, in a way that they can receive it? But also, that's how when you actually take a mental inventory of what you're feeling, and and acknowledge, which not only take the inventory, but actually acknowledge that these feelings exist, then you could be able to describe what it is that you need from them. You can be able to describe what it's like. The big part of it is like you actually admitting that I'm feeling sad today.
Hmm.
I'm angry because of how this went down, or whatever. It's just like, once if you put a name to it, you can take the power away from it. But the thing about it is, you actually have to acknowledge that shit exists. I tell, like, when that anxiety monster comes in, or that depression monster comes in, and it's just like being super loud, and it's like, hey, Blaise, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. A lot of times I have to, like, I acknowledge you. Now shut the fuck up so I can move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Mhm.
I'll deal with, I know that you're there. I acknowledge that you're there. I'll
Yeah.
deal with you when I'm in in a better place to deal with it.
Right. That it's creating an internal boundary. Where
Mhm.
does one end and another begin? Where am I beginning and ending with this part of me that really wants to be intrusive and come in right now? Because don't think of a white elephant, and what do you think of?
The
Like
white elephant.
when it's like I don't want to pay attention to that part, and it just gets louder and louder and louder. It can be all encompassing and take over. So yeah. Um, I think before in our first conversation, I told you that friend of the podcast, Erica said, Blaise is the guy that you referred to when you want someone who's edgy and and not the traditional therapist. So hopefully that is complimentary to you.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes I feel that
Yes.
way. No,
Yeah.
and I think, but I think that's one of the reasons why they do like to come to me, is because I tell people, is like, I'll validate you, but I also call you out on your shit.
Yes.
Because like a lot of folks, when they come to see me, they don't want to hear all the social media buzzwords and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Well, I'm triggered, or that person's a narcissist, or this person is this, and this person is like,
Yep.
no. It's like, when they come to me and we talk, it's like we're having like a conversation, and it's just like that we have a conversation with with some therapeutic spices thrown in.
Yes. I
You know what
like
I'm
that.
saying? And it's
It's
like,
not
and
the
it's
main dish, it's the
yes,
extra on top. Yeah.
yes,
Uh-huh.
and that's the thing. What it is, because a lot of times they, a lot of people when they come to me, they never have an outlet. They never have things to talk. They don't have the space to actually show up and be who they are. And I tell them, it's like, yo, hang that cape up on this hook when you come through this door, and you can pick that thing right back on up when you leave out.
Mhm.
And so once you do that, you're fine. But it's just like right now, I need to see I need to see your secret identity. I don't need to see your superhero identity.
Yeah.
You know? And when they do that, it's like, okay, that's cool. So and it's just like where when I don't get offended when like the women who come in to see me and they be like, they get into it, they're like, girl. It's like I'll sit there it's like, oh boy. I know when they say that they feel comfortable. Or if my gay clients come in, they're like, bitch. And I'll be like, bitch.
Yeah.
So but that like that's the thing. It's like they feel like they can be themselves. And it's just like I want that for them. I tell them like all of my clients when they come through, it's like, yo, I got you.
Mhm.
And when I say that, I don't say it just to be saying it. I think they believe it because I show that empathy with them,
Mhm.
when they're dealing with whatever it is that they're dealing with, you know. And so, and like we'll cuss in sessions and you know, we might listen to Kendrick Lamar in a session. We might listen to Taylor Swift at a different point. We might listen to some Slipknot. It all depends on what they need because their sessions are about them and they got shit to do with blows.
Right. Right. And I like that, you know when you have the buy-in. There's
Mhm.
always these, like, micro moments where it's like, you know the switch when it happens because they
Uh-huh.
are kinda using their language with you. Like,
Uh-huh.
they're inviting you into it in whatever kind of space that is for them. So
Mhm.
and then it's like aha, we're here. We've arrived.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Like I got your ass
I
now.
I got it. I already did you. Yeah. So, like, I broke you down.
Yep,
Here we
yep,
are.
yep. That's it. That's it.
Totally,
Right.
totally. If you were to give any sort of advice, like if this was this is your, I'll say, like, elevator pitch in a way for anyone who is thinking about seeking mental health services, particularly as a first responder, what would be your, like, hey, go do this?
Right. So what I would say to them was like, yo, it ain't what you see on TV, bro. It's like you might get a dude who look just like me, who show up in this world with tattoos, a beard, a bald head, and got experience in doing the stuff. It's
Mm,
like you are allowed to vet anybody that you want to vet when it comes to therapy. If you
mm,
find 3 therapists that you like, do a consultation with all 3 of them. Be you during all 3 of them. And let them, you'll be able to decide from those 3 consultations who will be the best therapist for you.
mhm.
And it's just like, just because you had one bad instance with therapy 10 years ago, don't mean that every therapist is going to be like that. You don't buy the first pair of damn shoes you see.
Right.
You try them on. You try on several different pairs till you find the right pair. Same thing with
Mhm.
pants. Same thing with your truck. You
Mhm.
don't just buy the first truck that you see.
Yeah.
Try your therapist on just like that. And you'll be surprised at what you see. And then don't think that just because they don't understand the work of a first responder that they don't understand what trauma looks like.
Right.
So
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, it's um I think that so many times we think someone has to walk in our exact same path, and not to say that doesn't help,
mm,
but I think that that idea around, like, if you, like, I've heard this from, like, if you're not a mom, then how are you going to work with moms? Like that
yep.
kind of and it's like, or I could also be someone who may not project that experience onto you, but be able to meet you and understand you where you are. Because
Mhm.
I am imagining too that there's like go find the right therapist. And when we're so like, but our criteria has to meet these exact things. It's like, you might be closing in the door on some, especially if you're in a community where there's maybe not as many resources, but like before we close the door so strictly, maybe be a little bit open to see what possibilities there are. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Love this. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at _dope_black_therapist. You could go to my website at www.thedopeblackTherapist.com. On Facebook, I am G Squared Consulting and Counseling Services.
Amazing. Appreciate the work that you do, and you are welcome back on anytime.
Oh, I appreciate you having me, Brittany. I look forward to coming back whenever you want me to show up.
Amazing. I will send you that invite.
That sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. And do you drink coffee?
I do drink coffee.
Okay. Do you know Larry's Coffee?
I do. I know Larry's Coffee.
Larry's Coffee is a small batch roaster here in Raleigh. They are a B Corp. So that means that they have sustainable practices and they pay their farmers a fair wage all the time. Sometimes coffee prices go like up and down. So then they'll pay them up and down. They're flat rate. So yeah, they're sponsored the podcast. So if you like coffee, feel free, drink Larry's. Link is in the show notes. So
no doubt.
Yes.
Shout out to Larry's.
Shout out to Larry's. Yes, they're great. And if you ever get a chance to see them here in Raleigh, their space is very cool. So it's a fun time. And until next time, everyone, stay connected. Bye.